I would like to invite the co-executive director, Erinn, who also does everything with education for this community. Thank you very much, and enjoy LIFT.
I'm not sure that it is ever fair to ask me to speak after Chinobe, but I'm going to try to do it. So once upon a time, I was going to be a high school teacher. I've known my whole life that I wanted to work in education, and I've known that arts save lives. I had no idea what I was going to say when I stepped up here, but I'm feeling the emotion. So thanks, David and Chinobe, and all of you for setting that up for me. So I went to college thinking I was going to be a teacher. I learned pretty quickly that public education might not be the direct path that I take. I love, love, love teachers. I have more respect for teachers than probably anyone in the world. And I knew that I'm not very good at systems. So I decided to find another path to continue in education. I went on to grad school, and I studied art and design, and I kept on teaching all ages, from preschool to college. And I went to grad school in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's a really beautiful, cool arts town. But when I say cool, I mean it's really, really cold. So I only lasted another year after finishing school and knew I needed to be somewhere else. I had visited Asheville a few times. I knew how really, truly beautiful it was. And I decided to take a chance. I'm like, I'm going to move there. I know a couple people there. I'm going to move there. Without a job, without a really big plan. So maybe it's foolish, but I like to say that I'm a risk taker. And I was talking to one of my friends. I'm like, well, I didn't make a whole lot of money as a teacher and an artist, so I got to find something pretty quick. And my friend Zach was an intern. He's like, I work for this really cool place. He was in school to be a social worker, actually. And he's like, I work for this really cool place called Leaf. You should check it out. So I'm like, all right, cool. The way I had been making money mostly was an artist. I painted big murals and worked in the theater and did a whole lot of stuff like that. So I'm like, cool, great, arts organization, got it. I can do this. I drove out here. Our office was out here at the time in the Meadows building. Brought my little art portfolio, sat down with Lorraine Martin, who was in charge of Leaf Schools and Streets at the time. And I had this beautiful interview, this long conversation, probably a little over an hour, showing her my work, talking about that. And I'm like, all right, so what's next? And Lorraine goes, we don't have a visual arts program. Sorry. And I'm like, oh, well, I do theater too. And she's like, great, you're hired. Can you teach theater? So thank you to Lorraine for listening to me talk about art for no good reason. But it worked out. So that was 16 years ago this October. So I've been around for a little while. So many of those years, I worked as a resident teaching artist in theater, and then we got the mobile art lab, the easel writer, and I started teaching visual arts as well, and that allowed me to make a lot of connections in the community, get to know what's going on, feel out the scene, and know that I wanted to be a part of LEAF as long as I could possibly be a part of LEAF. So I don't know, just one thing happened after another, and I found myself after a few years being able to oversee the education department, and that is a dream come true. I get to work with artists from all over the world. I get to live out my passions every day. I get to see the difference in kids' lives. Some of those kids now, I am in the grocery store and I'll hear like a deep man's voice behind me, "Hey, Miss Erinn." I'll turn around and look up, "Remember me?" And it'll be a kid that I met when he was in second grade. And then he'll tell me a story about, we had that residency at such and such community center. And that is one of the most beautiful things. While they're talking, I have to calculate and try to figure out and picture the little boy face that I once remembered. Halfway through the story, then I might remember who it is, and then we have a good conversation. It's great. So I cry in the grocery store sometimes, and that's why. But anyway, so that's my story. This is my favorite venue, I have to say also, so I'm glad that we have come back into the barn and we get to do things like this here, so thanks for being a part of that. My very first festival, I performed on this stage, actually. I performed with my friend Kenya Webster, who's no longer with us, but she's with us every day. She was drumming upstage center for you non-theater people, that's there. And my friend Adam is a storyteller. He was over here reading a story that he had written about elephant poaching, and my friends John and Candria danced through the aisles while I painted live over there. So I feel like not a lot of people know my first Leaf story, and that is my first Leaf story. But the memory right before that is having no idea where the barn was, and knowing that I had to be here, and walking these hills with Kenya. And what I remember is, oh God, it's hot. I don't know, I've seen those golf carts, but I don't know how to get one. And walking, we got here, we were a sweaty mess. We didn't know what we were doing, but we had a really good performance, and I've been in love with the barn and the space ever since. So anyway, I wanted to talk about Leaf Schools and Streets because education, I think, is the heart of what we do here. And your membership makes that possible, so thank you so much for that. This retreat, we have 8 visiting teaching artists from around the world who are also headlining main stage performers. And we also have a roster of 25 resident teaching artists, a growing roster of 25 resident teaching artists. So we've got to work just to this retreat with people from Mexico, Uganda, Malawi, Florida, Durham, world changers from all over the place. And it has been such a beautiful thing to watch. You may have noticed on the schedule today at 12:15, there is a performance on main stage called Kenzie's Song. I encourage you to be there. This is the first part of a long tradition that we're going to have. We're going to keep alive as long as Leaf is alive to honor Kenzie, who we lost a few months ago. So happy Mother's Day to her mom who is here. She's spending her first Mother's Day here with us since that happened. So thank you for providing a space for that. That feels super great to be able to surround her and all the other mamas and caregivers and grandmas and aunts and all of you who have taken care of children in your lives.